So to do a mini cut while bulking, you don't want to do it any longer than 4 weeks, otherwise it becomes a mega cut. Now, for cardio, I recommend you do less. So less is low intensity stay. Something like walking or incline walking is fine. And the reason you don't want to do HIIT, and you probably might not even notice, is because it will impact your recovery. So if you do squats and then you do sprints like 5 times a week, good luck recovering, man. So that's that. Now, one thing you also probably don't know is that when you do cardio for a long period of time, let's say like sprints or walking, your body becomes more efficient. Now, automatically you might think, okay, that's pretty shit because now we're burning fewer calories. Now, although that might be the case, you need to understand that your body burns more fat instead of carbohydrates now. So that's also a positive there. So that's that. Second is your knee. As we know, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, so fidgeting, stuff like this, especially when we have a bigger calorie deficit, this decreases. Now, in my opinion, the best way to offset this is regular walking, especially when you do a mini cut and your energy levels are a bit lower. Now, for the training side of things, you need to understand that the bigger the calorie deficit, and I'll tell you that number in a second, the bigger the larger the training volume, you need to increase that. Now, before I'd say a low training volume, but now as to my current knowledge, I'll explain why I say higher training volume. So the reason you want a higher training volume is because, think of this, if you have a bigger calorie deficit, you're sending a signal to your body like catabolic, and we know that less calories means less muscle protein synthesis, and muscle protein synthesis is the process of building new muscle tissue. We increase muscle protein synthesis by increasing our protein intake as well, obviously up to a point, and by doing more weight. So there we go, more weight. So if we increase our volume, it's going to counteract the catabolic, which means breaking our muscle tissue to more anabolic. So probably you want to shoot for about 12 sets per muscle group, or should I say per exercise, right, per week. So that's a good training volume. As well as this, also keep your intensity, and when I say intensity, I'm referring to the weight onto the bar. So try and maintain this as best as you can, and if you can, increase it. Okay, so for nutrition, you want to shoot for about a percentage of 1% of weight loss per week. Now, the reason being is because this is a mini cut. We're not going to do like an 8-week cut, so we want to lose as much fat as possible and still maintain our muscle mass. That's the key word right here. So a calorie deficit that I'd recommend for you is 750 calories, and as always, you can just follow the formula of doing 15 times your body weight in pounds and 14, that's your calorie maintenance, minus 750, and the number that I would not go beyond is 1000, because if your calorie deficit is excess, like it's just really high, where are you going to go, right? Where are you going to go if you're going to do a 4-week cut? Like 1500 calorie deficit, man, that's absolutely insane. You're going to lose a lot of muscle mass. You're going to take about 4 steps forward and 10 steps back, you know what I'm saying? So now that we covered calories, protein intake. Now, the reason I recommend a higher protein intake is because it makes you feel a lot fuller, right? You don't need to consume 1 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight necessarily to maintain your muscle mass, right? I mean, some people will have different opinions on this, but that's just my personal opinion. The main benefit of a mini cut is that the leaner you are, right, the more muscle you gain when you start bulking again. So for example, let's say I'm like 20% body fat, but I'm just bulking. Whereas if I'm like 20% body fat, I cut down to, let's say, 15% body fat, I want to gain a bit more muscle when I start back on a bulk from 15% body fat, right? This is just rough numbers. I wouldn't recommend bulking at 15% body fat, maybe about like 10 to 12 or something around that range, right? And also very important that you probably might not even know, even like realize this, keep your stress levels low. And by this I mean, like, instead when you go into a mini cut, don't just like go from 0 cardio to like loads of cardio. Don't just go from like loads of calories to like no calories. I'm very big on also easing into things now. I never used to be, but that's that, man. Just try and keep your basically your stress levels low, because as we know, when we stress, we secrete a lot of cortisol as well, and that will also cause a lot of cumulative fatigue, which is not helpful at all. It's going to impact our recovery, stuff like that. And also sleep a lot, man. We know sleep is very important. So that's basically how you can do a mini cut while you bulk. I hope you found the video informative. If you did, man, we're having science videos, science explained videos on a daily, so subscribe to the channel right now, and more importantly, I guess, stay positive, stay smiling, and I'll see you in the next one.